The 2025 NFL schedules have been released, and the Detroit Lions have one of the more difficult schedules in all of the NFL. They are certainly one of the more in-demand teams in all of football, as they have 12 nationally televised games worked into the schedule. Of course, they'll be playing the annual Thanksgiving Day game, but they will also be featured on Christmas Day. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. This one's going to go through the Lions 2025 schedule in detail. We'll bring in our special guest, the Villain, to go through each individual game. We'll make our record predictions and have some fun with this 2025 schedule release. The Detroit Lions will be playing in arguably the best division in all of football in the NFC North. They did sweep that division last year, but it's hard to imagine going back-to-back seasons sweeping your division. And again, they're playing the second toughest schedule in all of the NFL in 2025. They'll be facing elite quarterbacks all throughout this schedule, and there's some very tough stretches that we'll go through in detail. There's actually a stretch where the Lions will play 3 games in 11 days. However, it appears they have a much more favorable bye week, and they seem to get some additional rest because of all those primetime Thursday night games. Let's dive into the schedule with You Know Him, You Love Him, the Villain. What's your thoughts on an opening day in Lambeau, especially in early September?
A beat down in Lambeau, and I don't know. I think that defensively we own the Green Bay Packers, and Kirby Joseph has got, you know, a jar with all of their souls in it on his shelf at his house. So I love the
Yes.
fact that we're getting the Green Bay game that's supposed to be in the elements. That's getting out of the way. This outside game that we're supposed to be scared of, we're getting it out of the way right away. I love the scheduling. I wonder how Green Bay fan feels about using their home game against the Lions in the middle of September.
I agree with that. They can't be happy with taking the Lions week 1 at home. And I think you're right. I think getting that game early in September avoids all the bad weather, the snow, the cold, anything of that nature is gone. Lions, of course, were 6-0 against the division last year and 11-0 on the road, or excuse me, undefeated on the road. So that's just freaking, that's nuts. So I like that matchup. Let's go on to week 2, because I think this is maybe what called out to me first when I saw the schedule. When I first put my eyes on it was, where's the Bears game? And it's week 2.
Top Bears. They're
coming to Detroit, bringing Ben Johnson and the whole crew. How are you feeling about that? It's a 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox.
So that's our home opener is against the Bears and Ben Johnson. Oh, man.
Wow.
They're going to eat that up, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's going to get some media. They're going to be like, oh, Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's coming to town. Everybody get ready. And, you know, I mean, I think that reality is going to hit the Chicago nation here. I don't know if it's going to happen in the first week, but they're going to get a reality check in the second week, because I think some people look at what we've done in this offseason like it was just like we went level just because we didn't get a pass rusher. And it's like we got better, and we're going to get a lot better just by getting our guys healthy. And you know what? If you can beat us, Chicago, in the second game, you know, more power to you. That just means that you beat a good team, but they're not. I think we're going to start out 2-0.
I kind of see that as well. I like the back-to-back division games. I kind of like that you get those teams early on. I think the Ben Johnson era is going to take time to develop, and I don't think they don't hit the ground running and just become some dominant force. So to get the Bears early on in the season, I think is a win, and I agree with you. I think the Lions leave those 2 games at a 2-0 pace. So let's move forward. Week 3, a team the Lions have struggled with. Obviously, hot quarterback Lamar Jackson with Baltimore. This is a Monday Night Football game, 8:15 p.m. against the Ravens. How are you feeling about that one in week 3?
I mean, 2-1. I mean, we just there's just something about the way that they play this Lions team every time, and they just something about the way that they're set up. I just feel like, you know, if I call this a win, I'm going to be calling myself a homer when it's all said and done. So realistically, this is a really, really good Ravens team. And where are we at? Is it here? Or they're
This is
here?
on the road, so that's tough
Okay,
to
so
ask. Yeah, on the road, and the Lions are 1-6 against Baltimore lifetime.
on the road, but we were undefeated on the road last year.
Yeah,
So I mean, I don't know. I feel safer calling this one the first L. 2-1, 2-1.
I agree.
That's a hard Baltimore team, and we do struggle against uh, the mobile type of quarterbacks that can make plays from the pocket too, not just running quarterbacks, but guys that can bait you into that run and pass type of thing. And Lamar's so good at that.
Yeah.
And until we stop that, I gotta call it the way that it is.
That's a great early season test, and I think this will be the kind of the measuring stick game early on for what is the defensive line really. Did they improve? Are they what we saw early last season? Well, they're going to get it. It's kind of I relate it back to not that Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray are the same quarterback, but remember it was week 3 against Arizona last year, and it's week 3 this year, and the Lions are
Right.
playing good defense. So again, it'll be a great matchup, but I agree with you. I think that's a tough ask on the road. Monday Night Football in Baltimore. I would agree that looks like a loss to me as well. Let's move forward. Week 4. We don't know what we're going to get at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, but that's who we got. September 28th, 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox. This is at home. This seems like home cooking to me. What do you think, bud?
Oh yeah, 3-1 here. My whole family's from Cleveland. I know that hurt their feelings to hear me say that, but sorry, the disaster by the lake isn't. It is what it is, guys. So you ain't gonna have. If you do get it together, you're not gonna have it together by week 4. So I think that we win that one and we show off.
I agree. It says the Lions have won the last 5 matchups with the Browns in Detroit, as Cleveland hasn't beaten Detroit in the Motor City since 1983. Yikes.
What?
Yikes. Week 5. Okay, let's step back to October 5th. Now, this is a tough one. Afternoon game, 4:25 on Fox. They got to go to Cincinnati and play Joe Burrow at home, and that's never an easy ask. How are you thinking about that one?
I mean, what are they? They lost everything. They paid 3. They got a wide receiver, 2 wide receivers, Joe Burrow, and a mad Trey Hendrickson who may or may not be there. May even be a Lion.
Ooh, wouldn't that
But
be nice?
it's hard for me to pick the Bengals to beat the Lions there, man. Are we going to be 5-1 right there?
Yeah,
I think. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be too much of a homer right there. They could lose that game. They could go to Cincinnati. That's a hard road game too. But they're not going to be able to run the ball against us. They're going to be one-dimensional. We're going to be able to run the ball against them, and we could control the game. No, we're going to win that game. That's 5-1.
I'm
5-1.
That's a trench game. That's where the Lions and another one where you're like a measuring stick of how good is your defense, because the Bengals can play offense, no doubt about it. They got weapons, they got wide receivers, and they got Joe Burrow, but they can't defend it. And if you can't defend it, you're not going to stop the Lions' rushing attack. So I agree with you there. So that would put us, if we're keeping track here, that'd put us at 4-1 to this point, 4-1 through week 5.
4-1 if we're agreeing.
I do agree with you so far. I do. So now let's move to week 6. Again, the feature matchup that I saw October 12th. This is an NBC Sunday Night Football matchup with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. How are you feeling about them now going to Kansas City? They're going back-to-back to Cincinnati, to Kansas City.
Right.
How are we feeling?
I feel like this one is the Patrick Mahomes revenge tour. And I think that he's going to make a lot of people pay for doubting him from last year, because the way that he kind of played down the stretch. And yeah, this is an easy one for me to call a loss right there. So I'm going to say we're going to go to Kansas City, and I think that we could play it close, but we'll lose that one. So.
I agree with you. And again, I if I feel like I disagree with you, I will, but at this point I don't. And I think that is a tough road game, back-to-backs, tough stretch there. So let's move forward again. Week 7. Now we're coming back home. We got Tampa Bay coming back into town. 3rd straight year in a row. We're going to see Tampa Bay at home, October 20th, 7 p.m. This is an ESPN game, Monday Night Football again. Lions just all over the primetime schedule. How do you think about this matchup here? We lost to Tampa Bay last year. Does that carry any weight into this season?
It sure does. We don't lose 2 games in a row. So if I'm calling that the loss right there, we're going to take a win going into the bye week right there, which that's a little bit better than last week. What is that? A week 8? Is that
Week
week
8.
8? Week
Yeah,
8
that was
bye
one of the
week.
big ones.
So
For
no,
me,
we'll win that one. We'll get that revenge on Baker Mayfield.
I agree with that as well, and I think that's the Tampa Bay. I just think fell off. Their offensive weaponry kind of fell off a little bit. And I think it's a comeback game for the Lions. They, like you said, they don't lose 2 in a row. They revamp for a Monday Night Football game and head into the bye. And yeah, so last season it was a week 5 bye. This season it's a week 8 bye. Much better, I think. When I wanted to look at the schedule, that was the first thing I wanted to find. Where's the bye week this year? So are you okay? Are you feel better with a week 8 bye versus the early one last year?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. You always want the buy in the middle of the season, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you want to break it up and have your rest time so you can break it in half. I mean, it was way too early last year. And I know that we had the first round bye, but it's like we had so many guys injured, it just didn't matter.
So let's before we go any farther, let's kind of recap. So right now we got wins in week 1, week 2, a loss to Baltimore. We got, it looks like, a win against Cleveland, a win in Cincinnati. We're going to take a loss at Kansas City, and then we're coming back home for a win against Tampa Bay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-2 at the bye. Not bad. I'd feel very good at 5-2 heading into the bye. So let's flip it into week 9, a November 2nd matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. They're coming to town off the bye week. Remember, we got JJ coming into play now, and at this point, he would have been well seasoned. This is week 9, so we can't sit here and say he's new to the scheme, and obviously he's had a year under his belt as he recovered from injury. So, how do you feel Vikings coming to Lions there in week 9?
Uh, I I don't think that we're the best. I think that we're the best team in the division. So I can't see this team beating us with JJ McCarthy, with whoever at quarterback. Justin Jefferson seems to decide not to show up when the chips are on the line. So I don't think he's going to show up with these chips on the line. And if he does, nobody else will show up, and we'll still be able to run the ball down their throat and expose that defense that Jared Goff just has a field day with. We'll score 30 plus again, like we always do, and they won't be able to keep up. So that's a win.
I like that. I like that. The only thing that scares me about Minnesota is that defense, but again, who stops the Lions? And that's really the thing. And they couldn't do it at the end of the season last year. So I will agree with you. I would also go with a win there. And then week 10, we talk about a revenge matchup. The Lions, we know, were ousted out of last year's playoffs by the Commanders. We know the injury situation and what Jaden Daniels was able to do. Now the Lions will travel to Washington in week 10, November 9th, afternoon game, 4:25 on Fox. So, what do you think, man? You're week 10, a revenge matchup going to Washington. How do you feel about that one?
Man, I'm trying to think of, because I'm looking at these back to back weeks, and I'm saying that we're going to split. And I'm trying to decide who is going to. I think Washington will catch us again, because I think that we're going to beat. I have a feeling that we're going to beat Philadelphia, because Dan Campbell will will it to happen, just because everybody's been talking shit. So, give me the victory against Washington, and I'll go ahead and do my next one, or give me the loss against Washington, and then bounce back with the victory, because we never lose 2 in a row to Philadelphia.
I will take it in the opposite direction. I think the Lions get the revenge win. There's something about Dan Campbell and his he just wants to get his back. And he won't say that out loud, but I think about Dallas and all that stuff. And I don't think he's going to like the fact that Washington outed them in the playoffs. And regardless of the health factor, I think he's going to want to get that one. And I don't think they look past anybody. So I think they win that game. But let me preface all of that with, I don't think they go to Philadelphia week 11 after such a tough win in Washington and then followed up with a victory. So I'm gonna match you record wise, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna flip that in my opinion and go that route. But what a great matchup. Week 11. I mean, this will be the measuring stick for the rest of the season. How are you feeling about that? Just Lions, Eagles in general.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, we could absolutely lose both of those games. We could win both of those games too, because I do believe that this team's as good as any team. So it's like it's a matter of matchups, injuries, and everything. So I like your call there.
So moving on, week 12, a little lesser of an opponent, let's say, but again, we never take this schedule lightly. But we got the New York Giants coming into town, and we all know if you listen to 97 on the ticket, Mike Valeni, he doesn't shy away from telling you how horrible that franchise is. But regardless, Lions, Giants, it's a 1 p.m. game, a normal kickoff on a Sunday on Fox. How you feeling about that one?
I think that you hit the nail right on the head. That's not a very well run franchise, and I don't know if I believe in Jackson Dart at all.
Yeah.
I mean, period. So week 10, week 50. I mean, who cares at this point? I think we're going to eat them up. That's especially if you do get a loss in that last game, or you go through that tough stretch. It's almost like a bye week there. So I don't want to take them lightly. You're not going to take them lightly, but we're just a way better team than they are.
All right. So after week 12 and this Giants victory, which I think we both agree on, the Lions would be sitting at 8-3 as we now head into the home stretch here in some of the holiday games. So week 13 now, we got the annual Thanksgiving Day game, a very familiar foe coming back in again. We've played them many times here very recently in Thanksgiving, Green Bay. And we played them in week 1. We said the Lions would get that victory in week 1 in Lambeau. So now they're coming, obviously, to Ford Field on Thanksgiving. How do you feel about that matchup?
We have Green Bay's number. Green Bay is not going. I am not going to call a Green Bay victory against us until they beat us, because Kirby Joseph has Jordan Love's number. He's going to be able to close out. They didn't make any adjustment to stop that from happening.
So another spotlight game, week 14, Thursday night football. Dallas coming to town, actually, which is, I feel like, more rare that Dallas comes to Ford Field, but we're going to get them on a prime video game, 8:15.
Yeah.
How you feeling about the Jerry boys coming?
Yeah. They just got knocked down a couple tiers on their power rankings and all that, because they just ain't that good anymore. They had their little 5-year window of everybody talking about they were going to be good, but they're never good. They never come out and finish the deal either. The Lions are on the rise. They're on the fall right there. We're going to smash the Cowboys at home.
I agree with you as far as the Dallas game is concerned. I think that's to me, that's a Lions victory written all over it. I just think they have Dallas's number right now as well. So let's move forward to week 15. Another familiar foe. Lions have played this team many times, and they're very familiar with their quarterback. December 14th, 4:25. The Los Angeles Rams are actually going to travel to LA. So they get to visit SoFi Stadium again. Why are you feeling about this one? They get to play Matthew Stafford yet again, but this time late in the regular season.
Well, just for the reasons that you were just talking about, and there's another reason stuck on top of that, is Matt Stafford has a bad taste in his mouth for what the Lions how we have treated his team the last couple of times. And I'm sorry, we just had some offensive linemen that just wanted to bully you guys out of the way while we won games when it mattered against you guys. But I think they're going to get us this time.
We did not talk before we came on and did this recording, but I swear I thought the same thing. There's no way that Matt Stafford lets us beat him 3 times. And I might be more positive Matthew Stafford than most people. I liked him a lot. I still like him. I think he's a gutsy, gritty. He's a Hall of Famer, man. I mean, I don't think there's any question. He's a Hall of Famer. So I think this is one on the road that they give back. So I would also agree with you that is a loss. And as part of this string of games, so they're going from a December 14th game. 7 days later, they're going to play Pittsburgh. But this time, Pittsburgh's coming to Detroit, December 21st, 4:25 on CBS. An interesting matchup, one of those all-time organizational matchups. I love it when they play the Steelers. How you feeling about that one?
I feel like it's a good Lions victory again. This is just, God, I can't believe I get to say this about Lions teams, but like when you watch really good teams of the past, when you knew, the Patriots were coming to town, there were just certain teams that they were just in a different class right now. And Pittsburgh's in a fluctuation type of thing. They're still trying to find themselves a little bit. Maybe they'll find themselves by then, but I just think that we're just in a different class right now with that, and that's a victory. That's another victory.
I agree with you. I think you hit the nail on the head. One of those teams we wanted to live up to, wanted to be one of those organizations to thought of in that light. But I agree. I think we got teams on different trajectories now, and I would agree the Lions get a victory here as well in Week 16. It's also their last home game of the regular season. Their last 2 games are on the road. They start in Week 17 against Minnesota. This is the Christmas games. The Lions are playing both Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. This will be on Netflix, a 4:30 kickoff. Interesting to play on the holiday. How are you feeling about Lions Vikings on the holiday?
I'm telling you that the sweeps keep telling me you gotta prove that you could beat us. It's so funny when you think of them only losing 3 games last year, and we only lost 2, and both of the games they lost 2 games to us. That's because we have their number. And that defense does do very well against a lot of teams right there. But here's the thing is the kryptonite to that defense is just an offensive line and guys that know how to pick up blitzes. And when you pick up all those exotic blitzes, you know what that leaves? Giant holes in your secondary because you blitzed guys. And who is better at finding wide open blitzed guys and, carving up that defense? That's Jared Goff. He owns the Vikings. He owns that defense. As good as they are against everybody else, he'll continue to own them. Sweep.
I like it. Yeah, I think they've won 5 straight against the Vikings, 2 on the road. So yeah, tough to argue against that one. I agree with you there. I think that's also a win. I think the holiday brings something. It's hard to go on the road, but I think like you said, the Lions have their number until proven otherwise. I will roll with that with you. And if you can never convince me that the NFL story writers aren't involved somehow, because in Week 18, if things play out in a dreamlike world for the NFC North, and this could be a battle for the division. Chicago Bears, Lions will have to go on the road. So if there is a bad weather potential game, I think this one is certainly one of them here. But the Lions have shown that they win on the road. They have overcome elements. They've won in Chicago. They've won in Lambeau in the torrential downpour. How are you feeling about this, man? Do you think this game means something in Week 18, or are the Lions on a victory parade at this point?
This game will not mean anything in Week 18, and the Lions will lose this game going into the playoffs, and that will be the only victory that is gotten on the Lions from the NFC North. Will be the final game of the season in Soldier Field.
I'll say this: I first of all, I want to live in the world even at 12-5 where that game means nothing, and I'm totally fine with that. I hope that's the case. I want to live there and just say the Lions wrapped up the division and maybe even a number 1 seed. But at 12-5, I don't see a number 1 seed. I think they will need another victory or 2 to put themselves back in that category. And I'm going to say this. I'm not saying it's a hot take, but I think the Bears start slow and I think start to come on. And that's the difference in what the Ben Johnson regime will be versus other regimes. They started hot last year, I think, out of the athleticism of their quarterback. And then finally their offensive line caught up to them. They, kind of flip their defense around. They're doing some of the right things where I see good things for the Bears. And if things work out for them, I could see them the second team in this division. I think the Packers fall off a little bit. And I don't like J.J. McCarthy as in year 1 taking the Vikings through this division. I just don't see it. So that leaves the Bears with a heavy opportunity. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Bears are a game behind the Lions at this point in the season, somehow, some way. And this TBD date will become a flex Sunday night football game and will mean everything. I really do. I think this could be number 1 seed. This could be at the very least for a division title. Let's talk overall here. Based on what we went through on this schedule, you have the Lions finishing at 12-5. I have them at 13-4, and I think we're kind of just toying with how the season ends up there. And we're kind of in the same realm. Outside of what we've seen in the schedule, are there what teams are the Lions competing with if they hit 12-4, or 12-5 or 13-4? What are the other teams they're worried about?
I mean, we're not 15. We're not going to go 15-2. I got us at 12-5, still making the playoffs. We're still a good team, but it's like, got to come back down to earth here a little bit. So,
yeah,
I guess my long-winded answer is LA and obviously Philadelphia is the team to beat on the NFC side.
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, it's easy to say, but you're right. I think Philly and is the one that you have to. Week 11 is going to tell us a big story. I think that to me, that's the highlight game of the season. It just will kind of set the stage for the rest of the regular season. I just really can't wait to see where the Lions are at and what that game looks like for both teams. Obviously, so much changes. We sit here before the regular season starts, and half these teams fall off. But yeah, you're right. That's why we do it. It's so much fun, and I love living in a world where we can count on victories rather than losses, and it's so much fun. In my very quick review of the schedule before we went through it with the villain, I did count 13 wins, but I think in having some time to take a look at the schedule in more detail and really focus on the realistic view of this season for the Detroit Lions, I see this probably closer to 11 or 12 wins. I would love it if they won 13 games, but it is very difficult to go back-to-back seasons winning that amount of football games. I think there's only been 8 teams in the league that have won 15 games in a season like the Lions did in 2024. So it's a lot to expect, and this schedule is daunting. Again, they'll be playing several elite quarterbacks. They're going on the road in some tough spots this year, and there's going to be teams gunning for them. But a 10, 11, 12, 13 win season all would put them in the playoff mix and give them an opportunity for the organization's first Super Bowl. So I'll stick with my prediction, 13 wins. That's what I counted initially, and that's what I'll go with. What do you guys see for the Lions this season? Let me know in the comments down below. How many wins do you see on this schedule for the Detroit Lions? Thank you guys so much for hanging around for another video. If you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gaz Sports, make sure to hit that like button. It is the best free way to help out the channel. I would also love it if you'd consider subscribing if you have not already. We've just surpassed 3,000, now on the road to 3,500. Thank you to you guys. And if you hit the notify bell, you won't miss any future videos. I have a membership option available. That's where I do live game play-by-plays, a ton of other fun stuff. But there's always free content here and at all of my other socials at Johnny Gaz Sports. But more than anything else, take care of yourself and that mental health. That is so important, and I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Again, thank you for your time. Have a great week or weekend ahead. Go Lions.